Online game black markets. Maybe you're overly acquainted with them, or maybe this is your first time ever hearing of their existence. The act of selling virtual goods for real money has been around since the dawn of the internet, with subscription services and Candy Crush lives draining bank accounts left and right. As children, many of us gave our computers hefty info-stealing viruses from programs that claimed to give out free Club Penguin memberships and begged our parents for a cheap Webkinz plush. I wanted the texting puppy because I was cool and hip and whatever the fuck kids say now. However, tie-in merch and virtual world premiums are not where profit ends regarding online games, and young kids aren't the only targets. I've talked about Neopets here on this channel more times than anyone should ever be allowed to talk about anything, but unfortunately, I still have more to say. The ever-changing 2000s pet care game has become a hot topic in recent years, even more so with the shift in priorities and brand new leadership team. So sit down, because today we are going to dive into the recesses of the Neopets black market and why its many faces are a lot more concerning than you'd think. If you aren't a chronically online niche game player, the entire concept of an MMO black market may seem completely bonkers, and frankly, I am proud of you for being a normal person. You know, life's really gone down the gutter when you spend 20 hours on Neopets video essays, but you know, that's what this site does to you. If you've seen memes about Neopets introducing children to capitalism, they're not that far off. It is, in most ways, a less stressful capitalism simulator. Less stressful is in air quotes though. You can literally sit and watch prices inflate for certain items if you'd like. Art imitates life, I suppose. The main goal in the game is to build up a sizable bank account and show off your cool pets, collections, and paintbrushes. All of that is easily said, but actually pretty hard to do. Back in the day when Adobe Flash Player was still kickin' and hundreds of games were available to play each day, earning Neopoints via hard work was not as uncommon as it is now. Sure, there were plenty of other lucrative avenues to explore at that time, but skill in games was a great moneymaker. However, after the death of Adobe Flash, many games aren't worth the time it takes to earn any kind of notable income. So if many of the old games aren't available, how do new players make money? Well, there are a few good ways, but most of them hinge on chance. Food Club, one of the most highly regarded earners for Neopets, has you bet on virtual pirates. This game uses probability as its main anchor, and many wonderful people in the community share their analyzed bets on sites like Reddit and Discord for others to use. These bets have a certain percent chance of winning nothing, aka busting, and chances of earning a profit. Basically, you hope that your bet turns out well, and with accurate calculations, you can up that chance, but there's always a possibility of earning no income. I am no expert on Food Club due to the fact that math makes me want to rip my hair out, but bettors like Enshing and JK Rolling Down have dedicated countless hours to making higher reward bet sets for the community if you'd like to learn more about Food Club betting. The problem with Food Club lies in the betting mechanic. The amount of money you can bet per round is determined by your account's age. Your registered max bet is 50 Neopoints plus 2 for each day of your account's existence, meaning that if you had a 7,000-day-old account, you could bet 14,050. If you had a 2-day-old account, you'd only be able to bet 54 Neopoints. Going by the basic rule of gambling, the more you bet, the higher your winnings are, so while an old account might make millions from one Food Club win, a new account would barely make a dime. Another way that Neo users earn income is via restocking, which is the act of purchasing rare items in shops and selling them for a high profit. This one may seem a lot more approachable, but unfortunately, it is a highly competitive market as many users are looking to restock at once, and it also relies on luck. The Neopets shops only restock rare items in mostly random and limited batches, so right place, right time comes into play here in a major way. Not only that, but the restocking market has become even more tight with the introduction of botters, which I'll discuss further later. In any case, it takes a lot of dedication to make a good amount of money with restocking, but it is possible with hard work and, you know, maybe not a full-time job. Dailies, which are repeatable actions you can do on Neopets each day, such as anchor management or tombola, only have a small chance of awarding the player something worth a good amount of Neopoints each day. Usually you'll receive items worth 1 or 2 Neopoints, which is chump change and can't even buy your fucking pets a sandwich. You are 100% bound to get an item with a higher value at some point, but it may take weeks or even years depending on how good your luck is. We once again find ourselves relying on chance to make Neopoints. It's doable, but it takes time. Like many other games, Neopets requires a good amount of investment and effort to gain any sort of leg up in the economy, which has always been a massive part of the appeal in my opinion, but waiting around and grinding in the Neopian magic shop is not everyone's cup of tea, and I can also understand that. With the inability to earn money from games and the significant time sink Neopets requires, some people may look for a less labor-intensive way of achieving their goals. I have briefly mentioned the trading side of the Neopets black market in other videos, but that was mostly in passing. Not only does the market exist for Neopoints, but its primary reason for thriving lies in the buying and selling of pets and accounts themselves. I have made 2 videos on pet trading before, so if you're interested in the inner workings of that side of things, I'd recommend you check out those 2 as they pair quite nicely with this video, like cheese and wine or whatever the fuck. However, up until recently, the 2 biggest flexes you could muster up on neopets.com were UCs, or unconverted pets, and specifically named pets. UC pets are, or rather were, pets that retained a removed art style with far more character than the current more corporate style Neopets switched to in 2007. Specifically named pets come in many different varieties, but I'll try and be fairly quick with my explanation of them. Again, check out that trading video if you want a more in-depth explanation. The Neopet naming system works much like a username would. Once a pet is created, the name you give them can never be used again, meaning if I created Ashley the Neopet, nobody else could ever make a Neopet named Ashley again. So good names can only be used a single time, which makes them very valuable to the pet trading community. Usually these rare names are narrowed down to these categories: RW and RN, real word or real name. These are words recognized in the dictionary or actual names you could see a person having. Common RWs or RNs are things like school and Andrea, rather than disparagingly or Femina, which both are technically real words and real names, but you won't hear them often. 4 L's, 3 L's, or 2 L's, which are 4-letter, 3-letter, and 2-letter names, are exactly what they sound like. Names that are whatever letters long, so 4 letters long, 3 letters long, and 2 letters long respectively. These are rarer due to there being a smaller number of names available based on how long their character count is. These are valued far higher if they're pronounceable. For example, AVER or Aver is a pronounceable 4L. PSNP or Pusnup is not. These Neopets are highly sought after in pet trading and can take years of bargaining and trading to ever achieve, if even being achievable at all. For example, it took me an entire year to get my first unconverted Neopet, and even that was coming from pure luck. Similarly to the Neopoint situation, if you're not willing to sink that much time into the trading sphere, purchasing a Neopet that will get you into highbrow trading can seem like a good idea. So now you know why people might want to use a black market service. Now we can talk about how they actually function. No, the Neopets black market does not profit off of illegally obtained kidneys or operate like the Silk Road. These black market websites are very easily accessible and can be found with simple Google searches. When you first type buy Neopets items into your browser, a freaky amount of sites will pop up advertising anything from UCs to high price items. Most of them will have a clean-cut, Shopify-like interface complete with FAQs, good reviews, and product images. They're easy to navigate and showcase anything you could ever need on the site. Most often, you'll see a few categories in the shops: pets, neocash items, neopoints, and accounts. The main market of these sites used to be UCs, and the UC pets were usually sold by tier, which is how they're valued in the trading system. Prices ranged from $6 up into the hundreds. Each UC pet for sale would have an option that determined their price, how well named the pet was. Basically, the more underscores and numbers and gibberish the pet has in its name, the worse named it is, and therefore the harder it will be to trade. Most people prefer more aesthetically pleasing names like Flora Bean or Vanilla Wings instead of, AssBlaster96 Michael _58359. The price of the pet will go up based on the naming convention you select, with a well-named pet sometimes doubling your price. There are even things like UC grab bags, allowing you to gamble with how high value the pets you get are. Now, this was how things worked before the introduction of NC-UCs, or Neocash UCs, which changed the UC trading game forever by making the UC, now called nostalgic pets, into converted pets with the UC token on them. These pets wear a nostalgic style which can be taken on and off like a clothing item, meaning that no pet is truly a UC anymore and any pet can be a UC. Think of it like you were a jeweler, okay, and you were selling diamond rings, but suddenly every single gem could become a diamond at will. Doesn't work the same anymore. So if you haven't blacked out from all that information, you're probably assuming that these black market pet traders are shit out of luck, right? If any pet can be a UC, that makes UCs easily available, and they can be named anything, so they can't upcharge for better names. Got you there, huh? Nothing is ever that simple on neopets.com. These sites have begun switching their operations to focusing on the specialty names I've listed earlier, now opting to sell those names instead of UCs. Plus, not all UC colors have been released yet, meaning they can still sell the UC wearables of certain pets until they're released for a high profit. Not only does that shift mean that they can still sell well-named pets, but it means that the market has become even more competitive as all the sellers scramble to stock their inventory with specialty names. But, as I mentioned before, pets aren't the only things these websites are selling. Items worth millions of Neopoints and packs of Neopoints themselves are also sold, usually averaging out at about $4 to $5 per million Neopoints. On this particular website here, a pack of 2 million Neopoints will run you $7.99. On another, 1 million costs $3.99. With the Neopets economy being what it is at the moment, certain paintbrushes which are used to color your pets might run you about 35 real-life dollars, such as the Moroccan paintbrush. But if you don't want to buy the Neopoints yourself, you can also just purchase the items without going through all the bargaining. A plushie paintbrush, which currently runs at about 8.5 million Neopoints on the site, is priced at $32.99. Neocash items, which I mentioned earlier, are also often sold on these sites. Neocash is the real money currency used on the actual Neopets website to buy clothes, accessories, extra pet slots, and a whole host of things that I won't go through right now. When I was talking about Neocash UCs, that's what I was talking about, okay? I should have said that then, but whatever, I'm not editing this fucking script. So wait, isn't that just exactly the same as the black market, paying for virtual items with real money? Well, yes and no. Neocash is the site's legal way of purchasing items with real money. The money goes to the Neopets company itself here. Items purchased with Neopoints and items purchased with Neocash are very different things. Neocash items cannot be traded for Neopoint items and vice versa. This means that if you wanted to trade a 2.5 million Neopoint item for one real money Neocash item, you couldn't. That would be completely against the rules. Neocash items themselves are kind of I don't know. Buying Neocash items off of these websites is kind of dubious, but buying Neopoints is absolutely against the rules and is not the same as buying Neocash items. Real money goes for real money. So if you can just buy Neocash items from the website itself, why buy them from black market sites at all? Well, Neocash items are constantly revolving in the NC Mall. Items are usually only available for a month or so at a time, meaning you only have a limited window of purchasing ability for most Neocash items. If you miss that window, you'll have to trade for the items, which can be a pain in the fucking ass and also end up costing you quite a bit of money on its own. In simple terms, if you wanted an item that came out in 2007, you usually wouldn't be able to just purchase it. Also, many of these websites offer random bundles of Neocash items that are cheaper than just purchasing a ton of clothing from the mall, so it may feel like you're saving money. Neocash items have trading values as well, which can differ based on the rarity and age of an item. I have a Neocash trading video since I can't stop talking about this website, but in short, some values can end up making one item worth 50 real-life dollars, paid for in other Neocash items. When you purchase a Neocash item from these websites, it releases you from the pain of the trading process and is also usually cheaper due to the items being acquired in a certain way. Last but not least on the roster, we have account purchasing. This section is pretty much the most unethical of all of them and gives us a gateway to the real scope of this issue. Account purchasing is the sale of an entire Neopets account, meaning the buyer has access to the pets, Neocash items, Neopoints, and login info of the account they purchased. Accounts can go for hundreds hundreds of dollars, mostly based on the items and pets on it, its age, its username, and its avatar or stamp collection. We've already gone through the value of most of those assets, so hopefully you can understand why this would be an enticing deal. The usernames themselves can also be worth a lot of money, as some people prefer to have certain aesthetic or real word/real name usernames, and thus those are given a higher value as well. Account age can be sort of a status symbol for some on the PC, the pound chat, and also gives you access to things like higher food club bet amounts as mentioned earlier. It also unlocks things like the almost abandoned attic and hidden tower sales. Collections are also a huge deal on Neopets. Things like stamp collections and avatar collections take years, even decades to flesh out, and that effort can be easily mitigated by purchasing an account with an already nearly complete collection. If it hasn't dawned on you yet, the buying and selling of Neopets accounts is a massive fucking problem. You might have assumed that these accounts are built up by sellers specifically for the purpose of selling them later, but unfortunately, that isn't the case. Let's get into the actually scary stuff regarding the Neopets black market. Now, throughout this video, the entire vibe may have seemed a bit less than important in the grand scheme of things. I mean, sure, people can buy Neopets if they really don't have any intention of playing the game the way it was supposed to be played. If it's not harming anyone, why is it even worth discussing? What is the issue with people monetizing the hours they put into the game? Well, in truth, the way these items and pets are circulated is not a product of hard work. Neopets is notorious for being one of the least secure kids' virtual world websites. You may have been aware of the lawsuits and news articles written about data breaches and information leaks, but that isn't where their safety issues end. As I mentioned in my recent UC video, hackers have been able to reach behind the back door of the site with ease due to its poor coding, meaning player data and exploits within the system are accessible to almost everyone who is willing to learn even a bit of information regarding account breaching. The website is often referred to as having spaghetti code, aka code that breaks like a motherfucker and can be easily bypassed. This not only makes accounts extremely susceptible to hacking, but it makes the site's inner workings easy to game. Every single item and pet I've shown you on these black market sites has been acquired one of two ways: hacking or botting. In order to gain access to UCs, good names, and older neocache items, the staff of these websites look for accounts that haven't been touched in a while and attempt to hack into them. This can be accomplished either by cracking passwords or by submitting a faulty inquiry into TNT asking for a password reset. This can be made to look non-suspicious by using email spoofing software or just remaking old emails that have been deactivated over the years. Passwords made by young children tend to be pretty easy to crack anyway, so, you know. I am not a professional coder or hacker here, so I won't claim to know exactly how this is done because I'm a fucking idiot, but the fact that this happens has been proven by players who have been hacked into, and TNT themselves have acknowledged the issue, so no fear-mongering claims here. With many old players coming back to Neopets, the realization that your childhood account and pets have been sold off and are no longer accessible can be devastating in and of itself. Many memories are lost to these random companies looking to make a profit, and so many pets have been relegated to trading fodder for purchasing players when they were once beloved. These hackers either trade the pets off of the account to the buyer or give the buyer the login to trade the pets onto their main account. Items or neopoints are given out via lots in the trading post, or again, the login information. This makes it near impossible to see who the seller of these items is. Only the buyer has an identity attached to them. Like I mentioned earlier, neocache items are also sold, meaning that real money that has been spent on Neopets can be stolen away from you at any time. Some accounts are advertised as NC accounts and sold with 300 plus items paid for with real money still on them, and that is real, tangible theft. If you're not a sympathetic person though, not to worry, nostalgic pets are not the only danger associated with account hacking. Obviously, if an account is hacked into, that hacker gains access to an incredible amount of data from that consumer, including their sometimes full name, zip code, password, possibly real date of birth, and an email address. We've all heard of companies selling data before, that's not new, but when you put that perspective into this situation, it becomes scarier. Most Neopets players currently are grown adults and may use similar information for different service accounts, meaning that important information could be attached to their Neopets account that got hacked into. And if you aren't an adult, well, having children's information available to hackers isn't that cool considering the way people are. I did say that these websites had two ways of obtaining stock though. So what's botting? Well, if you're a user of the internet, you probably know what a bot is. Some programs are scripted specifically for use in Neopets and are created to purchase items and look for pets at a lightning-fast speed, far quicker than a human could ever move, which makes them the first to snipe at rare items from shops. So we talked about restocking earlier. Think of that and think of a person trying to do that against a bot. The bot's always going to win. These bots can also be used to claim freebies like those in the advent calendar, for example, and build up a stock of those to resell. This is where it gets really interesting. A user named neo_truths popped up in the r/neopets subreddit. This user, who has pretty much no identifying information on their profile, began to post statistics and data from Neopets logs that they seemed to be able to gain access to. This data ranged from the amount of botted accounts to the items those accounts were buying and the quantities of them, and how much real-life money they were making. The statistics this person posted were absolutely buck-fucking wild. They linked almost 40,000 accounts back to one person, which I believe was done via IP searching. These accounts were all stolen and used to place food club bets. Now, if you remember earlier, I mentioned that older accounts could win millions in Food Club. If you take that vague idea and multiply that by 40,000 accounts, you'll begin to see where the Neopoint stock comes from. NeoTruths also mentioned a profit of 224 billion Neopoints coming from 14.5 thousand accounts, which is fucking wild. Billion with a B. This user was said to have sold over 15,000 real-life dollars worth of items over the span of 1 month. $15,000 in profits from just Neopets items. This botter is getting more and more accounts every single week. They were reported to have accounted for 41% of all Neopets password changes over a month. They are also a massive restocker, having restocked items worth millions of Neopoints hundreds of times. For example, they restocked 178 golden shells over the course of 1 month. These shells sell for 200 million Neopoints each. The 178 golden shells they restocked accounted for 73.86% of all golden shells restocked by every single user. That means that this user alone restocked almost 3/4 of all golden shells sold that month. This person specifically has been named the Food Club botter, but they aren't the only botter out there by any means. This is a sphere of players that dominates most of Neopets' transactions, and as I mentioned earlier, has made restocking and earning money for the normal user near impossible. NeoTruths also shared some information about event botting. During the Fairy Festival, many desirable prizes were given out, and players could earn them by doing certain tasks. Over 80,000 players participated in the event itself, hoping to be able to sell some of the items they earned for a nice profit. However, 30,000 of those accounts were owned by duplicate IPs. If you don't know what an IP is, it's basically like your own little internet address. It differentiates you from other people. Single IPs could have upwards of 90 accounts. That unfortunately means that a large portion of the items being given out during this event were given to bots and will most likely be sold for a real-life profit. Taking those numbers into account, we can see a huge problem come to light. A lot of Neopets items are only released or restocked in small amounts, and those small distributions have been mostly hoarded by bots. This creates a market occupied largely by users who are looking to sell the things they collect, which in turn builds a monopoly untouchable by players who don't want to cheat or spend real money. But hold on, how do we know that NeoTruths is actually telling Neo-truths? What if they're just telling Neo-lies and Neo-fear-mongering? That was so bad it didn't even want to properly come out of my mouth. Anyway, unfortunately with all of the evidence we currently have, it's pretty much undeniable that they are telling some semblance of truth. The overwhelming prevalence of neo-black market sites proves the fact that there is a large amount of stock available, and that stock has to be acquired somewhere. If that doesn't convince you, then the CEO of Neopets himself might. In the Neopets Monthly AMA, Dominic Law has described NeoTruths as a white hat hacker, aka an ethical hacker who uses their abilities to search for safety vulnerabilities and make them known to the public. Dom has said a few times that he doesn't know if the numbers are fully accurate, but has always referred to NeoTruths as someone pointing out security flaws for the greater good. In my opinion, that sounds like a pretty sound confirmation in tandem with the other information we have. With all that being said, it is completely up to you to decide what you want to believe in this situation. I don't know every single fact in the world, so you have to make sound decisions for yourself. So, we've been through the problems, and we know that the CEO has been made aware of the situations involving them. All of that begs the question, what has the Neopets team done to remedy the black market's existence? Well, that's a trickier question than it should be. We only know a very limited amount of information on this part of the story, and even with what we do know, a lot of it is very touch and go. However, I will start with the topic that we have the most amount of light shed on, UC purchases. The Neopets team began doing something called a reversal when a ticket was sent in concerning a stolen pet. In the simplest terms, a stolen pet would be traded over and over again for different pets in a trade chain. The pet would move from user to user in exchange for different pets, always originating from one user who originally hacked the owner's account and sold or traded the pet. This one user would be the start of dozens of trades, usually with the other party being completely unaware that they were trading for a stolen Neopet. This meant that the person who got the Neopet had no reason to believe that they had engaged with a cheater, and the pet would continue to be transferred. If someone sent in a ticket asking for help getting a stolen pet back, TNT would reverse every single trade made with that pet until it got back to its original owner. So if Stacy began the chain and was traded for Eloise, then the person who traded Stacy for Eloise would get Eloise back. Years of trading could be unfurled with this method, and some people would be left without a UC at all. Not to mention, hackers have been known to pretend to be users who got their pet stolen and have TNT reverse the trades back to them, leaving them with UCs to sell once more. If you were left without a UC, you could ask TNT to make you a replica UC. I went into more detail on this in my UC video, but basically, they would create a new version of the pet you lost with any name you wanted. Of course, this was also exploited by hackers to create new well-named UCs. Unfortunately, this solution only sometimes helped users, and even then it was only users who knew that their account had been compromised in the first place. So that's that on pet trading. What about the botters and hackers? Going back to the AMAs, Dom said that the Neopets team had been working hard on freezing suspicious accounts and people utilizing bots, but did not give an estimate on how this has affected the site so far. But also, huge props to TNT. I know you guys are kind of running on empty right now, so I'm proud of you. Good job. TNT has also stated that some measures have been put in place to stop hackers from getting old accounts via tickets, such as putting any pets of value into the pound. As much as I can sit here and talk shit, which I love to do, I don't know any good solutions for this either. I'm not the end-all be-all here, and I'm sure that TNT as a group will come up with something in the future. Anyway, of course, I would like to quickly discourage you from ever purchasing from a neo-black market site. Not only are you buying other people's precious pets and items, but you run the risk of getting scammed or having your information stolen. If you somehow do get the attention of TNT after doing this, your account will be frozen and all of your money will go to waste anyway. So not the best. Overall, I really hope to see Neopets be more transparent with their effort to stop botting and give the power back to the real human market, but with so much on the team's plate already, my expectations aren't too high. Of course, all of this information is fairly nebulous, and it is up to you to decide how much of it you believe. I can only give you my opinion and the information that's been put out. Don't bot, don't hack, don't be a bitch, don't buy stolen pets, don't do any of that. It's just not good for the brand. So that's the Neopets black market for you. Good luck traversing Neopia, my friends, and don't forget, don't spend Trudy Surprise on your side account. That's cheating. Stay safe, stay wonderful, my friends. Thank you to all of my members, and goodbye.